and they change it to wood actually before.
Get some waves? Welcome to paradise.
It's home to some of the best surf in the world. It's also home to Mega Samadhi, who knows better than most, certainly way better than me, how to ride the waves of Uluwatu, Bali.
It's like dancing to the moon. Yeah.
Mega is a homegrown champion, one of Bali's top pro surfers. He's living the dream.
Surfing udah membawa saya ke luar negeri, kayak ke Hawaii, Australia jadinya. Itu susah. Mungkin jadi nelayan atau apa ya? Nah, jadi mungkin nelayan atau petani ya kayak kakekku.
His grandfather, even his father, knew a very different Uluwatu. A sleepy, off-the-beaten-track corner of Bali before the crowds and the surf tourists came and over time dramatically reshaped the place.
Terus kita surfing buat enjoy, kita surfing buat cari barrel, cari apa. Tapi kalau misalnya terlalu ramai, susah. Cepet, oh kita harus cari ombak gitu, bersaing sama orang lain, kita nggak tahu. Jadi ujung-ujungnya kita berantem kan, nggak gimana ya, nggak fun gitu loh, nggak enak, nggak.
Over the last 40 years, millions of surfers have come here chasing their own slice of paradise. But the influx of visitors is not being well managed, and now it's threatening the very things that make Bali beautiful.
Well, I think it's fine building jumbo planes, taking a ride on a cosmic train.
In the 1970s, many of the first generation of surfers took a winding dirt road south from the main centre, Denpasar, to find this rugged and remote coast. Its reliable breaks and crystal clean water quickly became the stuff of legend. I first came here fresh out of school. But returning today, it's obvious Uluwatu's popularity has come at a cost the locals can no longer ignore.
But tell me, where do the children play?
When we came here in 1979, there was absolutely no pollution at all.
Australian Mike O'Leary's a local well and truly. He found his first pilgrimage to Uluwatu simply enchanting, and he decided to make Bali his home.
Bali was known for its gentle spiritualism. Back in those days, you could actually feel, well, ghosts or spirits. You could feel that in the air. Back in the 70s and the 80s. I think it's probably one of the top 6 best-known surf breaks in the world, and it's a must-see on every surfer's tour of the world.
All that attention has had a dramatic impact, and Mike O'Leary's worried it's just too much for this place to bear.
between 10 and 15,000 people a month are hitting here. So it's
Out of sight of the cafes and surf shops that have sprung up over time, ample evidence of a little backwater bursting under the strain.
Yeah, just coming here, Matt. This is where the bit of a cesspool here that the surfers don't see. Everyone sees a great environment at Uluwatu out in the surf, but they don't see the accumulation of the cooking oil, sewage, and other liquid waste.
Stinks, doesn't it?
It stinks, and I think it's been going for the last 30 years. I think it keeps seeping out.
Mike and a bunch of other surfers have raised money to test the waters and found human effluent is seeping down to the surf.
That's for sewage, that's for coal wire?
While they've already set up a garbage service, they're still struggling to fund a new sewerage system. In many ways, Uluwatu is a microcosm of Bali's mounting problems.
Bali, like the rest of the world, has become very serious and money orientated.
Alarm bells have been ringing for decades, but Bali is now being stretched to breaking point. Since the late 1970s, the population's grown from around 2.5 million up towards the 4 million mark, and the number of tourists has exploded, from 120,000 a year to well over 2.5 million, including 800,000 Australians. Together, they generate thousands of tonnes of rubbish each day, and the waste problem is quite simply out of control.
As the tourists pour in, the rubbish is piling up and spilling over, and it's turning these environmentally sensitive mangroves into a putrid swamp that stinks to high heaven. This is just a few kilometres away from the Kuta tourist trap, but it's light years away from tropical paradise.
The rubbish floats down the rivers and out into the sea, piling up on the world-famous Kuta beach. Kuta is the epicentre of Bali's transformation. Its radical, ceaseless redevelopment has sparked intense debate about what it now means to be Balinese.
Kalau misalnya kayak Kuta semua, bangunan di mana-mana mungkin Bali nggak bakal jadi Bali lagi. Kalau itu terjadi mungkin khawatir banget ya, soalnya apa ya, kayak jiwa kita hilang gitu loh kalau misalnya.
And among the board hire businesses dotting the Kuta sand, we find another local worried about the future of his island home. For Jering, Kuta has become a model for how not to develop Bali.
I remember that time. I live like probably 200 meters away from Kuta beach, and at night I can clearly hear the sound of the waves from my room. Now you can hear people say "F*** off." I'm sexy and I know it.
Jering is a Kuta boy born and bred, and he sees the commercialism and sheer scale of development in Kuta as a creeping cancer, now destroying other parts of the island.
What I see, the mainstream, the Kuta or Bali mainstream right now, the mentality is selling. And so I found a point where, dude, I have a right to say no to this because that's wrong. And I want to fight this.
Jering is one of Indonesia's biggest rock stars. His band, Superman is Dead, is a huge national act. He's also out the front of another push, a growing local resistance to development and tourism at any cost.
Dan kita punya atlet sepeda nasional dari Bali.
There's a lot of people I know that really religious and going to temples a lot, but they're just selling out, they're selling out the land. And is that a true Balinese? Are you protecting your island?
It may seem odd that a young bloke who makes a living out of a raucous good time is taking a stand against the cooterisation of Bali, but then throughout the island, it's the younger generation that's speaking up.
It's what you do, it's not what you wear. It's what you do, it's what you're saying, it's what your messages are about. If it's for Bali, if it's for your community, if it's to protect, if it's for a greater cause for everyone else in Bali, then you are a Balinese,
Di mana logika pembangunan pariwisata, logika pembangunan hotel, yang sampai detik ini menyatakan bahwa itu.
Demonstrations and protests are not a normal part of Bali's culture. They're spiritual people, not activists. But Jering's been working to change that alongside his friend Gendo, one of Bali's best-known environmentalists.
Yang membuat kita marah kan ketika Bali ini dihancurkan sedemikian rupa, secara sistematis. Orang-orang Bali itu seperti lemming gitu ya, binatang lemming itu, sindrom lemming. Yang binatang yang secara sadar dia tahu dia kalau ke laut itu membunuh dirinya.
Across the Bukit Peninsula from Kuta's night spots lies Nusa Dua, a quieter family destination now dominated by huge international resorts.
Ya, untuk petani rumput laut.
Here, Gendo is tracking the construction of yet another supersized development, the 740-room Mulia Hotel.
Ya, karena mereka harus menyelesaikan proyek ini ya.
He's the biggest thorn in the side of the government and developers. His activities have even landed him in jail, but he remains determined to rein in the industry.
Ini pasti akan merugikan. Saya secara pribadi tentu marah besar. Dan Bali harus menolak proyek-proyek besar begini. Bali tidak butuh hotel-hotel besar karena dia harus menjaga kelestarian budayanya dengan pariwisata yang sederhana saja. Tidak perlu yang seperti ini.
In the late 1970s, Bali had just one 5-star hotel. Now, there are 41. Gendo says they're guilty of a dreadful waste of water, with each guest flushing away 3 times the amount used by the average Balinese family. And it's a luxury Bali can ill afford, as much of the water in this dry part of the island is piped in from agricultural areas further north.
Dan budaya agraris bersumber dari tanah dan air. Sumber-sumber daya kunci. Nah, kalau ini sekarang sudah habis, dia pasti akan mendegradasi budaya. Dan otomatis akan terjadi perubahan budaya kalau ini hilang. Artinya apa? Di kedepan hari, sekian puluh tahun ke depan, Bali ini mungkin sudah tinggal kenangan. Dan saya tidak tahu kenapa ya Bali ini secara sadar menghancurkan dirinya sendiri dan secara sadar menuju lembah kehancuran.
Not far from the construction zone, Nusa Dua's main temple is perched on a cliff. There's a rule designed to keep big developments a respectful distance from such hallowed ground, but Gendo says big money and jobs have local leaders turning a blind eye.
Sebagai orang Bali sebetulnya saya sangat khawatir membayangkan masa depan Bali ini. Apalagi buat orang-orang yang percaya reinkarnasi. Kita yang akan menikmati kehancuran yang diciptakan oleh zaman sekarang. Benteng pertahanan budaya Bali menurut saya dan keyakinan saya, bentengnya adalah tanah, pertanian.
A few hours drive from the hustle and bustle of southern Bali up into the rolling, rising slopes of the island, you'll find its cultural heart, Ubud. Ubud has become a favoured destination for travellers seeking a peaceful, quiet and more authentic Bali. Gendo was born and raised here, among the farms and rice terraces where Bali's brand of Hinduism even shaped agricultural practice. Subak irrigation is as complex as it is deeply spiritual, binding farmers, water and rice to the gods, who in turn keep the fields fertile and green. But farmers have been selling their land to developers, fueling a real estate boom that's driven prices through the roof. Thousands of acres of Bali's rice fields have been turned over to villas and hotels.
Ubud itu sekarang tanah pertaniannya mulai habis. Ya itu karena untuk villa-villa, hotel-hotel. Dan yang paling menyedihkan itu sekarang Pura Subaknya sudah tidak punya sawah. Karena sawah yang menjadi wilayahnya dia sudah menjadi bangunan-bangunan hotel, restoran, akomodasi pariwisata. Di masa depan, jadi sekarang nih perlahan-perlahan juga Ubud meniru Kuta.
As people from Ubud, we just don't want Ubud to turn into Kuta.
Ari Nova Dewi Putra is a member of one of Bali's ceremonial royal families. She's watched her Ubud change from farming community to tourist hotspot in a relatively short space of time.
When I was a child, I used to go to the rivers with my great-grandmother. We'd take a bath there, like together with everybody in the village. It was nice, and then I don't experience that for my kids now. Because the quality of the water, the river is no longer safe for them to doing that kind of activity, playing in the river. It is a shame, because I can see now that my kids cannot do that.
Still, Nova, for one, is hopeful that time-honoured traditions will provide the strength to endure. She believes Ubud's reputation as a cultural centre holds the key to its salvation. That the nightly performances of gamelan and dance have built a reservoir of cultural heritage which will sustain Ubud and preserve its magic.
It's not just a tourist cliche?
No, it's not just for tourists, it's actually for all of us to inherit all this value, who can really, we know our own tradition.
Balinese people believe that everything in Bali, they have their own sound. This life is offering. Everything we do in our life is offering to God, to other human beings, and also to the environment.
In a temple in the capital, Denpasar, is a man who should have the power and authority to guide Bali's future. Made Pastika is familiar to many Australians. After all, he was the police chief who helped bring the Bali bombers to justice. Now he's Bali's governor.
Tourism is not destroying Bali. The greedy investors are destroying Bali. Tourists is okay. They are good people. But the greedy investors, that's the problem.
Isn't part of the problem that greedy investors are all mixed up in the political system of Bali and of Indonesia?
Yes, of course, there is an influence of that. But still, the people on the right side is still stronger. And we hope this become more and more strong.
Made Pastika knows he's up against some powerful forces, exploitative foreign investors and a who's who of local influence. This luxury hotel is part owned by Tommy Suharto, son of Indonesia's late dictator. This one belongs to the Bakri Group, whose favoured son runs one of the nation's biggest political parties. A few years ago, Governor Pastika issued a decree banning new hotels from this part of the island. But developers and local mayors have taken little notice, and the cranes keep on coming.
You know, everybody want to invest in Bali. In one side, maybe that is good, creating jobs, moving the economy. But at the other side, because some of these investors are greedy, exploitation of the environment, exploitation of the land, exploitation of the people, exploitation of the culture, that is the problem. Those who really love Bali, they will invest with their heart.
Jering has invested plenty of heart in his own business, turning his family's old bed and breakfast into a rockabilly punk venue. Twice Bar, as it's known, is popular with local kids, unwelcome in the tourist traps on Main Street, where foreigners walk in for free, but Balinese must pay for entry.
And it just takes a lot of our dignity and pride, and somehow it's just we felt like this is not our home, you know. This is another country. What I love the most about Twice Bar is, first, anyone can just go in there. It's a symbol of resistance. You know, local have a right to have fun in Bali. That's what I'm trying to say. My statement, like, tourist is not God here, you know.
Jering's loyal followers, the punks and rockers, are not the archetypal Balinese featured on postcards and travel brochures.
You know, we're adopting like Western culture, but it doesn't mean we have to be the slave of Western civilization, right? What I believe is that, you know, you can look like not like a Balinese, you can talk not like a Balinese, but what you do and what you care about is for the island and for the community.
It's the young locals who know more about the world than their parents ever did, who also know they need to fight for their unique home and future.
Surfing udah berubah cara hidup, terus surfing juga udah bawa saya ke luar negeri gimana, jadi kita tahu kehidupan di sana tuh gimana, terus kita balik ke Indonesia jadinya kita harus ini harus dipegang atau apa yang lebih mengapresiasi apa yang kita punya lah.
That you don't know what you've got till it's gone. They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. They paved paradise, put up a parking lot.